balloons.
Oh, 2.
Yeah. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, this room is now filling up with balloons. Gabe, I just turned your microphone on. What in the world?
Well, I went to get Pastor Tom.
Yeah, because
And he
by
had
the way,
to keep making trips to the car.
Pastor Tom Repke is with us in the next hour to kick off our second birthday. And
Well, there's a lot of balloons, like you said.
yeah, I see
we
that.
gotta take some pictures and put them up
Oh my goodness, yes,
so people
we do.
can see what's going on in here.
Yeah.
Working overtime this morning.
This morning you were especially running around because of all the balloons that Pastor Tom brought.
Yeah, look at that.
My goodness. Oh, well, I've never
I'm gonna go unwrap these balloons.
I mean, yeah, go for it. This studio has not been this crowded since day one. Of course, whoa! We're flying jet balloons here with Heartfelt Radio stickers on it. Heartfelt Airship 1, Mornings with Mark and Gabe. Yeah, we're going to need a lot of pictures of this. Okay, hold on. Here it comes. Yeah, oh my. Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting morning. So Tom Repke coming up right after the news, and that is just about 4 minutes away. Here are the Booth Brothers on 91.9 as we begin this second birthday celebration on this Monday morning, Valentine's Day, February 14th. Glad you're there. Stick around. It'll be interesting.
Good Monday morning and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Let's check in with Andre for our forecast for this week.
Is that okay to celebrate, the second birthday of this radio station?
You know that is a fantastic way to start our birthday.
Happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday. Happy 2.
Yeah. Second year, 2 years on the air, and beginning year 3 today here on Heartfelt Radio. My name's Mark.
I'm Gabe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now,
welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to Brian, as always, for sitting in for me. Appreciate that very much. So we are going to do a lot of fun things today. Actually, we've already had a winner. Happy Day Dave was our first winner of the day.
Yes, he was.
We had a giveaway of a book from Johnny Erickson Tana and Bobby Wolgemuth, and then a couple of CDs as well. We got another giveaway coming up shortly, I think. We're going to try to do a lot of giveaways this morning, just to thank you for being with us for these last 2 years. The giveaways will continue this afternoon, by the way, with Lisa Jordan. She's got some stuff to give away this afternoon.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Now, this morning, we've got Pastor Tom Repke with us. Good morning, Thomas.
Morning, Pastor.
Good morning. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, one of the things that Tom is going to do this hour is something that we have not done yet, Gabe.
Okay.
We've been busy interviewing people for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, Tom's going to interview us.
I'm a little nervous about that. I'm not used to being on that side, this side.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about what this last 2 years has been like. And going back to day one, where I don't mind telling you, Gabrielle Collins did look like a deer in the headlights, especially for that first hour. And then everything just kind of chilled, and we were all right. But
there were a lot of people here.
Well, yeah. Now, Tom Repke has filled this room with balloons.
Yes.
Which is wonderful. This room has not been so full since day one.
Melinda helped too.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
As we watched the Super Bowl last night.
And by the way, we also have, once again, some coffee cake ministry with sprinkles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Coffee cake with
the
sprinkles.
balloons are superheroes, right?
They are, just as a metaphor to say we're so grateful. I think I speak for everyone. Just all that you've leaned into in this crazy season, right? Who would have thought?
Well, with that, before you start asking us questions, before we get to the break, we get to ask you one question.
Okay.
What have you thought over these last couple years as you've heard things kind of come together here at Heartfelt Radio, WKJA? What have you been thinking? What's been on your heart as you've heard how this has gone for the first couple years?
Well, I remember sitting, I think, somewhere off the bike path where we were sitting on a picnic table where you were casting vision for what this thing was going to look like. Mm-hmm. And just, it's been amazing to see how, and, none of us knew about a global pandemic. So
True.
True.
Who would have thought 30 days after you launched that it's like, okay, we're going to pivot to a whole new understanding.
We have a shutdown, of society.
Right. And so even this morning, as you've got your new Bible study program, Wisdom
Journey. Yeah.
Right. Just what was pulled out of that and the journey of Joseph and how, all these things and what I've seen, and I know your story, Mark, fairly well. Gabe, I've begun to learn, but we've talked about being in the hallway, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how God, that it's not about anything other than God's in charge. And so I think, what I've seen is your faithfulness, that God is faithful, that you've been faithful to it even when there's all this uncertainty. And so the beauty of what that means and the example that is for us, because I think we're all trying to figure out, what does life look like?
New normal.
Right. Yeah. And yet in the middle of that, you're writing a book, right? This is kind of cool, talking about things that you're passionate about. And, Gabe, the things that you've brought to. And so the beauty of what God, if you'd hit the rewind button back even 5 years ago, to think that you'd be sitting here, right?
Oh, I had no idea.
Never.
I had no idea.
Not a thought.
Right. So the idea that you've been faithful to that, and I think that, for all of us, and that's why I was trying to figure out what's the metaphor for the morning, but the idea of just, being kingdom heroes, that we all need to celebrate what God's doing, and we need people in all various areas of life, and the radio is one. And I love what Heartfelt's done in terms of it's not just what's on in the car when you get in to listen, but actually hey Alexa,
right,
stream Heartfelt Radio. It's the beauty of that those kinds of things of leveraging technology, because I know. Our daughter Sarah listens, from Paris.
In Paris, yeah.
France. Mm-hmm. And you've got other friends. And when our friend Ryan Nicholson was in Thailand.
He was listening.
He was listening. And so the beauty of what that means. And so the kingdom has just become so close to us.
Yeah.
But we need heroes. And so thank you for your faithfulness.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling pretty good about this day now. So Tom's going to start asking Gabe and I questions here in just a moment. We are on our second birthday here. 2 years ago today, this radio station signed on for the glory of God. And so we'll just kind of see what Pastor Tom has in store for Gabrielle and for me in just a couple of moments. We'll get Andre's forecast and get right back to the conversation. I'm Mark.
I'm Gabe.
And happy second birthday to us here at Heartfelt Radio. Pastor Tom Repke is here. Thomas, good morning.
Good morning. It's your birthday. Your birthday.
All right. So you now may take control, Mr. Repke. What would you like to know?
Well, let's start first with just a quick word of prayer. Let's invite Jesus in. Let's do that. Holy Spirit, Jesus, Father, we're just grateful for what you've done. And so as we just have some fun today, we know that you celebrated too, that we just want to feel your presence in such an incredible way. We just pray for all of us as we lean into the stories that you're doing and continue to doing and what you're going to do, that we just ask your presence in all these things. And so we just consecrate this time, consecrate the day, and we just celebrate what you've done, and we just mark that. And thank you for the life you've given us. And it's in your power and name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, good stuff. So I guess let's start, the big question, and I'm going to start with Gabe, is, what have you learned? I mean, radio is not your background, right?
Right, that's correct.
Mark, this is the journey he's walked in for so long, but I'm just wondering, and I'm sure there's lots of things. I mean, you were running the board a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what have I learned?
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. So Mark and I started working together about 3 weeks before we went on air. Mm-hmm. That was our practice time. So there were, I think, a few people heard us because we were actually on the air.
Right.
We just hadn't announced we were on the air yet. So learned to go back and forth with a pro. That was tough. I mean, but I kind of got it. He's a great teacher, I have to say. So I learned that. I learned how to kind of go back and forth and how to talk, and we kind of made it. It was kind of simple because when Mark and I met to see how we, mixed together, he said, we're going to be in the Bible, and I was like, yeah,
excellent.
So once we were both on that page, I think it made it easier because it was like, okay, we both are going in the same direction. Right. We'll keep going to the Bible. Yeah. So, that, it was pretty much that. Now, the only thing, Mark and I, it's kind of easy. It's easy for me because we just flow, you know what I mean? But what we didn't expect the pandemic.
Right. I don't think any of us did. So we're all, it's all level.
So that was probably the most difficult part. So I was learning, but it was like on top of learning how to do radio, we were also dealing with something we'd never dealt with before. So I was scared,
right?
But I had to kind of push through that, and Mark was like, we got to be strong,
right?
And I was like, I want to be strong. I want to go home with everybody else.
Sure.
But so we had to keep each other strong during that time. So I guess I learned how to work through adversity, how to trust in God in a bigger way than we ever had to,
right?
During the pandemic. And at that same time, coming out of the hallway that I wanted to get out of so bad.
Right.
And then I came out and I came into this and then something else happened. So, just learning to work through adversity, no matter, even when God gives you what you ask for, you're still going to have some, there's going to be things that are going to come up. Adversity is going to come up and pushing through.
So that idea of, our kingdom heroes, I just think, it's leaning into that because when we think of any of the stories of any of the great heroes, you pick it, right? That's the story they lean into. It's not all, even the story we heard this morning as part of our wisdom journey.
Yeah, Joseph.
It's like, and it's all how, and you reframed it. It's like, what's the perspective you have? Are you looking at it from, Joseph's brothers and what's going on and they're in charge? Or are you actually seeing that God is at work in this incredible way? And okay, we didn't expect that. And so
God was definitely at work.
Right. And I think that's why, radio is such a beautiful tool to help us lean into that. Now, Mark, for you, radio has been part of your wiring. You've done this for a couple decades.
Yeah. It was part of my wiring from college.
Right.
And then detour into television, detour into advertising, and then back into radio a little less than 30 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your perspective, what have you learned, I guess, in these 2 years, it's like, oh, didn't expect that, or, what sort of stands out?
Well, we're talking about learning, and I'll tell you this, that Gabrielle Collins is a fast learner. And I know that part of that is because she is really, really smart. But the other part of that was the world stopped all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And she had to be a really good learner because there was nowhere else for us to go than the Bible, than our faith. And, and that all comes, with visual reminders. We weren't just locked in a room here 2 years ago and just doing this program in a vacuum. We could very clearly look out these windows behind you and see that there were no cars in the parking lot but ours. We were the only ones in this building.
Very few cars on the street.
Yeah, that houses over 200 to 250 people in this building every day with Christian Healthcare Ministries. Everything was shut down, but we were here. And I had never been through anything like this before. My 25 plus years had never prepared me for anything like this. And so, Gabe says that, yes, well, Mark was a rock and he was, well, you know what? I was a rock who inside my head was going, Lord, what am I going to do next?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure. We had to keep each other kind of strong.
Can I just get a map, right? Or at least
exactly.
3 easy steps of what's next.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Can I Google this, please?
Yeah.
Broadcasting during a pandemic. But I think what came out of it was a stronger Gabriel Collins than maybe otherwise you would have been, Gabe.
Probably.
Yeah. And I think
a stronger Mark Zimmerman.
I think you're absolutely right. Because this was my first time back on the air in 4.5 years.
Right.
And the world had spun around a few times since then.
Sure.
One other thing that I learned that I think is very important, I think that when you've been around a while and you are a veteran of many years of doing something like this, that maybe starting a radio station from scratch isn't the most fun thing you can do.
Right.
During a pandemic.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there was all of that, too. This equipment was all new.
Yeah.
It was untested and untried.
Yeah. I forgot all about that.
It's reliable as can be. But we were walking a faith journey, too, with little things that would happen that I'd never seen happen before. And so daily tweaks and twists and turns and all of that. So I thank the listeners very, very much for their patience. Because that first 4 or 5 months, there were some bumps in the road, technically, too. And they're to be expected, but not anticipated.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to go back to Gabe, just if you could help us, so we know a little bit of Mark's story in terms of how he got here to this, but even like your story, how does God prepared you when you look back, like this is an Ebenezer moment, right, where God has shown up in such an incredible way. But if you hit the rewind button back, say, a decade or even two, how do you see his working? I mean, even as we heard the story of Joseph this morning, we see it through the lens of the cross, right? And we see, the beauty of that. But in those moments, how have you seen, what God was leading you through, and even the difficulties and the messiness and being in the hallway and those kinds of things?
God has been preparing me, I believe, for this since I was a little girl. My dad listened to Christian radio all day long. It was always on. So I know all the songs I hear. You know what I mean? I knew most of these songs already. So just being, I just have always been listening to it. So in that way, I was prepared. I had no idea I would end up here, but I already kind of knew that part. And then I was always a communicator. So I was used to teaching classes to adults and things like that. And then I had started, I wrote a book, and my book basically is about, not just existing, actually, creating a plan for your life. And I actually lived what my book talked about. So my plan, I didn't know what was the outcome, but I talked about, how, you start and God will help you to get to where you want to be. And that's what I did. I started school. I went to school for communications because that was what I did. And then as I was doing that, I didn't even know this radio station was being built around me. And that's kind of how I came to, I was in my last year of school, and this radio station was here, and the position was open, and I was right here in the building. So it just kind of happened. So I feel like God was definitely preparing me, even when I was a little girl, to up to now. And when the time came, I was ready for the position.
Was there any time, I'm sure there is, where there's these moments where you're going, what the future brings? I mean, you've written a book. That's an incredible process, right? And what you've learned through that. But just the idea of, the adversity, because I'm sure, without lifting the cover too much, but it's just that idea of, because that's it, right? We all share it together. So even like the idea of the metaphor of, of being a hero, and I know you don't see yourself that way, but it's like, no, there's this responsibility. So even when you show up, I know you're coming on at 6:05 a.m., to read, lead into the day and what people are expecting from that, and the encouragement because of maybe what happened last night or yesterday or the day before that people need. So even in your own story.
Well, let's get back to the conversation in just a moment. But first, we've got to go to Andre, find out what's going to happen weather-wise. Got a little music to hear from Damaris Carbaugh, and
we have a giveaway. Are we going to do this right now?
Let's do it. For our birthday,
Okay.
we're giving a whole bunch of stuff away to you this morning.
So right now we have a book called Divine Disruption. I actually own this book. It was gifted to me for Christmas. It's by Dr. Tony Evans, Crystal Evans-Hurst, Priscilla Shirer, Anthony Evans, and Jonathan Evans. So this is the whole Evans family. I believe they wrote this after the passing of his wife.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's called Holding On to Faith When Life Breaks Your Heart. Oh. So this is the book we're going to be giving away.
It's a hardcover. It's a great book.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the whole family together, talking about how they dealt with that tragic season in life where they lost, of course, Dr. Evans, his wife, and, of course, the kids, their mom.
Yeah, they lost the mother of the family.
So, caller number 2 right now, 330-848-9090. That's 330-848-9090. Caller number 2 wins this book by Tony Evans and the family. Hey, good morning. I'm Mark.
I'm Gabe.
And we've got another winner.
We do.
Yeah.
Marcella from Orville.
And Marcella from Orville, thank you so much.
She was excited, too.
She joins Dave from Massillon. They've already won this morning on our second birthday here at Heartfelt Radio. We're going to be giving away prizes all morning, and Lisa Jordan is going to be giving them away this afternoon, too.
So you have to listen all day.
Exactly. We have lots of fun books to give away and CDs and all kinds of stuff. So hang in there and stick with us. On our second birthday, Pastor Tom Repke is here.
It's your birthday.
Thanks for coming to celebrate with us.
2 years ago today, this radio ministry for the glory of God began on the air, and we had a room full of people that day that kind of shook Gabe up a little bit, and it kind of got me by surprise too, because I didn't expect this room was going to be packed full of people, but I guess I should have thought about that possibility.
Well, we weren't really part of the party preparing process. We were preparing to do the show,
to do a program,
and we didn't know the place was. It was full of people. People everywhere.
Today it's full of balloons. Thank you, Tom, Melinda. Appreciate that.
Our pleasure. Got to
Super
celebrate.
Cute. Love it.
Yes. So one of the things that Gabe and I have become used to for the last 2 years is interviewing people, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not used to being on the other side.
And that's where we are this morning. Pastor Tom is passing the questions on to us for a change, and we've talked a little bit already this morning about where we've been in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to go back to Gabe just for a moment, just so the adversities, right? I mean, how did those things prepare you for where you're at right now?
How did the adversity in my past prepare me for
the story.
coming into here, into the pandemic?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. You guys know I'm a mother. I have 3 grown sons, and so I have dealt with adversity, just in life. I truthfully, nothing prepared me for that. You know what I mean? That's a real true answer. Nothing prepared me for it, because it happened so fast,
right?
And it literally, kind of was like the day after we came on the air, it literally was like everything started shutting down, and it was happening so fast. So it was like, oh, this is great. I'm starting my career. And then it was like, I woke up the next day and things had tanked. I mean, we literally were here, and by 2:00 in the afternoon, CHM had shut down. You know what I mean? They had called me and said, Gabe, anything you need in the office, you got to come get it now, because we're shutting down. So it was like, we had literally just gone on the air. And then it's like a day or two later, and this is all happening. And nothing can prepare anybody, I don't think, for how that pandemic went.
Right.
The difference was everybody went home, but we were still coming in here, So we stood at that window a lot. Didn't we, Mark? We were
looking at the empty parking lot.
Because it was kind of unbelievable. It was like, really? Nobody's coming in here, So I don't know that I was prepared for that. I think that we just went through that with our faith. You know what I mean? I was prepared in that way.
Sure.
My faith in God.
Right.
as I told people, I think on the air, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about having faith and, you know what I mean, and scripture. I had to stay in the word because it was scary. It was very scary.
Sure. And I think that's, the undertones of just what this ministry is all about is, that it is, the scriptures are a core part of everything, that foundation. And so as we lean into this crazy season, it's like, and it still is crazy, right? And
It is.
Trying to figure it out, but hey, it's wonderful. But, Mark, in your story, radio was part of where you were at, and then you were driving bus for a while. And
yeah, I was.
Yeah, and the things you learned from that, and so even the idea of adversity for you, and maybe that's not exactly the right word. I mean, it seems like a harsh thing, but in those moments, wherever we're at, it's like, okay, God, I didn't sign up for this, right?
Right.
But how do you see His faithfulness? And I guess maybe you could share a little about that.
I mean, there's a reason that and we go back to the wisdom journey this morning,
Right.
And the last few days where Joseph has gone through everything that Joseph is going through. He spent 20 years, he thought, maybe either outside or maybe not so intimately connected to God's plan, whereas, of course, it turns out he was intimately connected to God's plan the whole time.
Right.
Right.
And, there were some ways that I could have thought about my 14 months as a gallery guard at the Cleveland Museum of Art.
That too.
Yeah,
right.
that too. There was a way that I could have thought about some other part-time things that I did. There's a way for me to think about the 2 years I drove the bus in Geauga County. I could have gotten to a very, very bitter and dark place.
Right.
And then a gentleman that Gabe has come to know pretty well, my pastor, Mark Matsky, said to me one day about my driving that bus, "That's quite a ministry you have there." Talk about reorienting your thinking. I realized that it was divinely appointed for me to be driving that bus every day.
I think there's a book you just gave away.
Yeah, something about that. Yeah, something about
The
that.
Divine Disruption.
Right. And once I started approaching things from that aspect, everything became ministry again. And basically, along about, I'd say the summer of 2018, I pretty much gave up. I just said, Lord, if you don't want me to be in radio, that's fine. I am now okay with it. Whatever you've got for me to do, let me do it for your glory, and I'll just do the best I can at it. And whatever you got, I'll take it. And then came this phone call from a friend in March or late February of 2019, 3 years ago. And said, there's a guy named Joe Emmert who wants to know your phone number. I said, well, number one, did you give it to him?
Ooh.
And number two, who's Joe Emmert?
Who's Joe? I know Joe.
Yeah, and so I learned pretty quick who Joe was. And I had known about this radio station being purchased by Christian Healthcare Ministries because it happened in 2018. The license was purchased in 2018. And I belonged to some forums on Facebook for broadcasting people, and I just looked at the announcement of that, and I just thought, well, Lord, I am not going to do anything about that. If they want this to have anything to do with me, if you want this to have anything to do with me, then you just work that. And I'm done trying to push my way into an interview situation or filling out applications online, which is, man,
awful.
could they
Yes.
make it any worse for people who want jobs
Awful.
than to force people to fill applications out online? Please, Mr. Employer, meet the candidates face to face from the beginning. That's okay. Let me get down off my soapbox
I
now.
know.
And okay, we're back to the interview.
Right.
But once I let that go, and all of a sudden this phone call comes back around to me to, wanting to talk to me. I realized that whether it was being a gallery guard in a place like the Cleveland Museum of Art, I had been at a radio station where I was around 100% Christians 100% of the time. And I went to a job at the Cleveland Museum of Art where I was around pretty much 0% Christians 100% of the time. I learned a few things about my witness in that situation.
Yeah.
On the bus, I learned a few things about my witness in those situations with elderly people who were very lonely, elderly people who were very angry,
Sure.
elderly people who were wandering into a next period of their life when something had been taken from them or something they had lost.
Some of them had nobody, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I made sure they sat up front so we could talk, and I learned a lot about ministry driving a small 15-passenger bus.
Yeah. And I think when you look at, like, again, Joseph's story, and isn't it just funny that, today's wisdom journey was all about that?
Yeah.
As you start out on, the third year of your faithfulness in that. And although your stories are different to some degree, at the same time, how you leaned into what God is doing, and to see that in the moment. And it's the honesty too of saying, okay, I'm not going to make this thing happen. I'm going to trust God to make it work. And Gabe, I guess, with your training as someone who does communication, that's a little different journey. I mean, I'm wondering when the phone call came. You've been mapping this out. You've written a book. Your communication is your skill set. And
when did the things change?
Yeah. How was it that call came and it's like?
Yeah. Well, I believe that that God was building this around us, because I remember when they called Mark. So he probably was on the bus doing what he was doing. But I was already here working at Christian Healthcare Ministries. So our previous CEO, he had mentioned to me when they hired Mark, even, he said, "We got Mark Zimmerman, yes." So I remember, and this was before the station was built. They weren't really building it. It was still kind of an empty room. So I kind of can even put those dates together with he was off doing something else, and then this started being built around him. And I felt the same way because, like I said, I was in school and it was kind of being built around me. And then I actually just came over here because I was in communications. I came over to ask to do some voiceovers. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I remember this.
I came over to talk to Chan and I said, maybe read some scriptures or, just read, some kind of daily devotional or whatever. And he said, "Oh, no, we don't need anyone for that. But we have a co-host, a morning co-host position open." And I was like, "Yeah, well, no, I just want to read some scriptures, because I'm hearing morning. That's what I heard." And I'm like, "Oh, I know what morning means. That means I got to be up to get everybody else to work." And now I'd like to read some scriptures, you know. And he kept telling me that, there was no position available for that, but they needed a morning co-host. And I was like, "Okay, And I kind of tried to get out of the conversation, but he got me with, "Well, how about why don't we pray about it?" And I was, what can you say?
Right,
That's right.
I'm like, okay. So we prayed, and then he said, "You go home and pray about it tonight, and I hope you don't get a lot of sleep." That's what he told me.
That's a very Mark Channon thing to say.
And I was like, "Oh man." So, and then I had my time of meeting with Joe Emmert, who's on the board, and he said the same thing. We'll pray about it. And I was praying about it, and I happened to see a few days later, I saw Joe Emmert as I was going down the hall. I tried to kind of go the other way and look the other way, and he looks over at me, and he goes, "Young lady, have you been praying?" I said, "Yes, I have." And then I eventually did. I went ahead and I had to pray about it, and I told them, I said, "I don't wake up at 3:00 in the morning for nobody but the Lord. I guess I'll do it."
Okay.
Yeah. And that was how that happened.
And now she's stuck with me.
And now we're here.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for that. I guess maybe can we think about what does the future look like? I mean, what's your heart passions for, what is it, cast a little vision of what do you want to see happen in the next 365 days here at this ministry?
You know what? For me, the future looks like I'm feeling very hopeful that we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic. And I feel like I don't even know because, for me, being in radio has been during a pandemic.
Sure.
So I know very little. We got out to a few concerts and that kind of thing. But we were closed in. So I'm just looking forward to coming out of the pandemic and kind of having some normalcy and even being able to hug a listener when you see him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When we're out,
we're wired.
It's
for
like
that.
we can. Yes. You want to hug some people. They want to hug you.
Right.
Nobody knows what
Right. There's
you can
that
get anybody's
awkwardness.
that awkwardness. So I look forward to being able to give our listeners a hug when we see them and being able to see them more.
Excellent. And Mark, for you, I mean, you've got this. You were toiling the soil, making this thing come together. In partnership with the team, Denise and Mark and others. And just for you, I mean, what is it that are there some things there? It's like, okay, and I think what Gabe's right. It's like, I remember you were talking about, we're going to go out and do,
right.
But help us see that.
And that is, I think, we have some announcements coming up about something we're going to be doing in the spring, partnering with another international ministry this year that is going to take us out into the community more than last year's campaign.
Excellent.
And it's going to be something you remember from many years gone by. I'll tell you that. If you've been listening to me over the years, it's an international ministry that I've been a part of, working with on about 4 or 5 occasions.
Excellent.
So it's something that people are going to be able to jump on, not only themselves, but with their kids, and make it a family effort. So that's coming. We're going to tell you more about that in the next month or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Little tease. That's good.
Little tease. But yeah, just being out more with the listeners, something we missed so much in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important. There are 2 ways to run a radio station. One is by numbers and by taking your announcers off to nice locations to have seminars. And the other way is to get out in the community and shake some hands and talk to people and talk to pastors and talk to their churches and talk to the people that sit in the pews and find out what they like and what they want and what they love. And that's the way that I was trained in by some very, very good people.
Right.
And I think it's a way that works, and can't wait to do more of it.
Excellent. Well, and for both of you, it's relationships, right? I mean, it's that idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do we nurture that and make it become a reality?
Speaking of relationships with the listeners, we have one more prize this hour. Actually, well, it's 3 in 1. We've got a book and a couple of CDs.
Yeah. All right. So we have a book from Harold Sala, When Your Heart Cries Out to God, Finding Comfort in Life's Trials. And then,
speaking of what we were just speaking about, yeah.
And then we have Wayburn Dean's CD, Immeasurable. And then we have a tribute CD, Living the Stories.
Okay, this is the sprint now. If you'd like to win that book and the 2 CDs, 330-848-9090, caller number 1. That's all we got to do. Caller number 1, 330-848-9090. While you dial, here's Andy. Well, we're not giving Gabe any time to rest. She's really busy over there, Tom.
That's good work.
I know. Because we just want to give away so much stuff today.
Celebration.
Absolutely, of our second birthday.
It's your birthday.
Yeah. So who is our winner this time, Gabrielle?
That is, this winner was Stephen from Lakemore.
All right.
Congratulations to Stephen.
And we've got the book by Harold Sala and the CDs from Wayburn Dean and Tribute for you. So congratulations. We'll do another giveaway or 2 next hour. And if you're going to miss the giveaways this morning, we're sorry about that. If you don't win, you have another chance this afternoon. Lisa is going to have some giveaways starting at 3 o'clock, so be ready for that. Now, Heartfelt Radio receives support from Summit County Children's Services. In recent years, Summit County Children's Services has seen a dramatic increase in the number of children placed in the agency's care. Over 800 children are in the custody of the agency, with just nearly 180 licensed foster homes. Foster families provide safety, permanency, and well-being for kids in their care. For more information on becoming a foster parent, summitkids.org. That's summitkids.org. Be the reason a child in our community feels safe and loved. Be the reason. Become a foster parent. All right. Did that happen in the Repke household before adoption?
It did not, no.
Okay, you didn't foster first.
No, we talked about it, but then, yeah. And yeah.
The need was there and you jumped.
We did, yeah. Just because, let's have some fun. So we leaned into that, and it was so fun.
You just jump in.
Well,
we love you, Jed. You're a good man.
Yeah. So it was fun. Yesterday, Facebook reminded me one of the best memories I have with him as a young boy is he got a chance to meet Justice Clarence Thomas when we hosted him at the Ashbrook Center.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I liked it.
Yeah, what a pick. Yeah,
that was just a great memory. So thanks.
Well, Pastor Tom, thanks for coming in this morning.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And Melinda, thank you for Coffee Cake Ministry with sprinkles.
And all the balloons.
Oh, my goodness.
They're so adorable. We have to get pictures up on Facebook of all our balloons. We have all the superheroes in here with us.
And that's because you're in the mix, right? You're our kingdom heroes, right?
Okay, hold on.
We're taking selfies.
I got to do the selfie number 1 right here.
There we go.
Yeah, there's all the balloons, and there's me.
Smile.
Okay, we got it.
Got it.
Okay. Now, you're coming back in a week and a half.
I am.
Yeah, for Bible study.
I am.
First time, long time. Have you got anything in your mind yet about Bible study?
I think I'm going to have us look at the story of the virgins and the oil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's complicated because it's interesting. I'm challenged by it because, let's...
Gospel of John?
Actually,
or no?
Luke.
Luke. Okay, right. All right. Well, we can't wait to have you back.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming in early this morning.
Hey, you call or you text. It's like you texted me at 6:36 or 3:36 rather, and it's like, what?
Anything that Melinda can do to get you out of the house every now and then is a good thing, right?
Yeah, and you all always benefit with some coffee cake ministry, right?
Exactly. How can you
said
not?
3:36. Was that in the morning?
Yes.
Only Mark Zimmerman.
No, because he was. I realized after the fact because you were headed out for this incredible journey of your own. So to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mark.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Heartfelt Radio is today.
There you go.
What a cool
Perfect
thing.
timing. Yeah. So grateful for you all. Thanks
still
for being
to come.
the kingdom.
Thank you.
Still to come this morning, Chris Perilliman is back from New Destiny Treatment Center. We have a lot more giveaways. We have Dave Zanotti joining us at 8 o'clock. And Mark Channon, our general manager, will be here at 8:30. And he has some announcements about some things that are coming soon to Heartfelt Radio.
Fun.
Yeah. Tom, thank you.
My blessings. Yeah, God's blessings too.
Thank you.
All right.
For the next year.